Due to a slow onset of the monsoons across India, the sowing of the Kharif crop remains on the lower side. The area covered by paddy last week is 24% lower than the area covered by this time last year. The delay in rainfall in some parts of India has also caused a decline in oilseeds acreage. So far, over the key sowing season, which spans June and July, sowing has declined close to 9.5% from 2021 levels. The deficit in sowing has been remarkable in states like West Bengal, Orissa, Jharkhand and Bihar, where deficient rainfall has been recorded across numerous districts. While in this context, the government has also undertaken many measures to try and tame inflation and ensure that there is adequate food security. Joining me now to discuss all of this and more, the curb on exports procurement plans, is the Food Secretary Sudhanshu Pandey. Mr. Pandey, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Let me start by asking you for a status check on where things currently stand. The deficiency in the monsoon did impact the sowing season. That has been made up to some extent in the first week of July, but oil seeds and rice in particular continue to be an area of concern. How worried are you?
Actually, the sowing season is yet not over, and our estimates are that we will be able to cover the entire sowing requirement by the time season is over. So we have still 2/3 of July left, and we are quite confident that the Kharif sowing is going to be as good as last year.
Okay, so you hope that you will be able to make up for lost time in the remaining part of July and, of course, August as well. But, Mr. Pandey, let me then ask you, given where things currently stand and the measures already undertaken by the government, do you feel that there is any need for further intervention? There's been a lot of speculation on rice, for instance. The Commerce Secretary had come out and said, no, there is no plan to put any kind of curbs as far as exporting rice is concerned. But is there any review, reconsideration on that front?
No, we are quite comfortable as far as the price scenario is concerned. Now, prices of various food commodities are also showing a declining trend, and we can clearly see that in respect of all major commodities, be it edible oil, pulses, even rice prices are quite stable. They had risen only in a particular zone for a limited period, but now they have stabilized. Even after regulations put by government, prices of wheat and wheat flour are also quite under check, and they show a trend which is not rising.
You didn't answer my question, though, sir, on any further export curbs, export bans, clearances that will be required, especially when we talk about rice, basmati or non-basmati.
No, I very clearly mentioned to you that current trends, all the measures, first of all, let me clarify, government has not put a kind of prohibition or curbs. These are only regulatory requirement, and both in respect of wheat as well as wheat flour. Those regulations ensure that in respect of wheat, that it gets channelized towards countries that are deficient and are actually need this supply for meeting their food security requirement. And for wheat flour, we saw an unusual trend of almost 290% increase, which is abnormal, and we wanted that the India's brand image is not affected, and therefore a quality parameter which ensures that good quality exports only go, they have been put in place. And when it comes to other commodities, basically if the price behavior in the country is right and export is as per the usual trend compared to the last year, then there is no need to worry, and our production as well as procurement, as we see, is going to be adequate. So therefore, no reason to think that there are going to be additional spate of curbs on any commodity.
Okay, so that you're clarifying that at this point in time, you don't believe there is need for any additional curbs, any additional intervention across any commodity, given where prices are as well as where procurement and production currently stands. In that context, let me ask you then, as far as the status of the FCI stocks are concerned, because wheat stocks had fallen, prompting the government to substitute rice for wheat in the Garib Kalyan Yojana. So can you give us an update on where things currently stand as far as the FCI stocks are concerned?
FCI stocks are in good condition. Even today, we have almost 590 lakh metric ton of stocks, and which you can say, both in respect of rice as well as wheat, they are much above the requirement of both the buffer as well as strategic reserve. The Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana change of ratio was done basically to ensure that the availability in the stock till the new crop comes is adequate, and that provides actually cooling down effect on the prices. If the public stock holding is sufficient and market knows that in case of requirement government could release those stocks, then the prices do not rise abnormally. And we have sufficient stocks. As I said, we have almost 290 lakh metric ton of wheat, and almost we have 300 lakh metric ton of rice. So we have roughly about, as I said, requirement which is well above our monthly needs, and there is no reason to be worried at all.
Okay, so you're saying that we have adequate stock at this point in time. Let me go back to address the prices issue, sir. You said that prices have started to decline across commodities. Let's bring up the issue of edible oils, because there we are given to understand, and this was what the government had said in consultation with the industry as well, that prices will be cut at the retail front. It will vary for different companies. But what's your own take on how much we can in fact see this translate into as far as the retail price is concerned across edible oils, and even as far as something like cotton, for instance, is concerned? How much of a reduction in prices do you believe we could see?
See, we have had very open interaction with all major oil companies, and if you see, then the price fall in respect of palm oil is to the tune of about 35%, and in case of sunflower and soya bean oil, it's about 20 to 25%. But if you factor in the dollar rupee devaluation and also the freight costs, even then we hope that there should be significant reduction in the prices of major oils. You will see biggest reduction in the prices of palm oil, and you will see medium reduction in the prices of soya bean oil, and similar amount of reduction in the prices of sunflower oil. And our assessment is that these supplies should improve further, because now the supply chains are also getting corrected, and we are hopeful that with the adequate supplies flowing in, and also the TRQ, global TRQ kicking in, because licenses to all companies have been now issued for both sunflower and soya bean oil, and they are at zero duty, and therefore consumers should get this benefit immediately.
Okay, can you quantify that for us? When you say significant reduction, what would that mean? When you say there will be a meaningful reduction, what does that mean? You said it will be more significant for palm oil, but there'll also be significant reductions across other edible oils.
Yes. So we hope that because oil companies also have old stocks, and their effort is to clear that stock, and the new imports, we hope that the reduction should range from 15 rupees to 20 rupees for various categories of oils.
Okay, Mr. Pandey, you said that there is no blanket ban. There is only a regulatory mechanism that's been put in place to ensure that those countries that actually require us to export are the ones that benefit from, whether it's wheat, etc. Now, on the mechanism that's been put in place as far as the atta is concerned, or wheat flour is concerned, where approvals will be sought from a committee. Is that already operationalized? Can you take us through where things currently stand on that front?
Yeah, committee already had its meeting on Friday itself, and they have set the quality standards in respect of specifications which are internationally accepted specifications, and also the MR limits of various preservatives, because the atta is a perishable commodity, and in order to increase its life, no extra added preservatives should be added which are harmful for human health. So committee had meetings with the experts, and they have devised a mechanism, and that mechanism would be in place, and we had already notified that by 12th that mechanism would be put in place.
So, Mr. Pandey, from what I hear from you, the problem as far as atta seems to be one of a quality issue, not so much, a curb on account of food security issues.
See, what happens when there is a scarcity of any commodity, then the profit margins and the price volatility plays a very important role, and all players, irrespective of their own credentials, processing capacity, standard checking capability, and requirement of the SOP that should be followed in respect of packaging, that may take back seat, and ultimately if those standards are not followed, then India's reputation wherever this stock goes can come under question. And therefore it's very important that in order to avoid the unscrupulous elements do not take advantage of a situation where price is playing a very major role, we ensure that whatever supplies go out of India, they meet the quality standards. And in respect of edible items, it's extremely important. As you may be aware, for many other edible products, those requirements already exist.
So, just talking about the G2G mechanism that the government has kept open, can you give us a status check on where things currently stand? In addition to the countries that had already used that route, have there been any more requests that have come in? How much has been exported via the G2G route?
See, overall quantities that have gone out of the country after regulations were put on 13th of May is roughly about 18 lakh metric ton, 1.8 million metric ton of wheat, and this all has gone to various governments from where requests had come. These requests are seen by Ministry of External Affairs and Department of Commerce, and also these governments are giving very clear undertaking that this is only for their own consumption, this is not for re-export or stocking, this is to meet their own domestic food security requirements.
Right. Mr. Pandey, at the Conference of State Food Ministers last week, you had said that the world food situation is fairly grim, and you believe that this is likely to continue till 2023-24. Given that scenario, do you foresee any possibility to be flexible when it comes to the curbs that have been imposed domestically on exports, etc.? Or do you believe that this is going to be the mechanism at least for the foreseeable future, at least through this year and perhaps next year?
See, the food security situation has been discussed in G7, in G20, and when it comes to India's food security requirement, India is in a very comfortable position. However, due to increase in the prices of fertilizers, and inability of many governments to procure sufficient quantity of fertilizer, their own production, food production systems are under threat, and they are not in a position to either procure fertilizer or afford fertilizer at the price they are available, as a result of which production fall is expected in those countries. This is what was stated in the meeting of the Food Ministers Conference, that India's efforts have been appreciated actually, that India is in a position to meet its huge requirement of food security, which is one of the largest, and in fact during the pandemic period, India has been able to, in 2 years period, supply food subsidy support to its large population base of about 800 million people, to the extent of about 89 to 90 billion US dollars. This is one of the largest program run by any country during this pandemic period, and it is not often noticed because the distribution system is very vast and it has been run very efficiently.
Yeah. Right. So let me end by asking you exactly on both those issues. The fertilizer subsidy, this of course the Finance Secretary has also made clear is going to additionally burden the exchequer. What's the outlook as far as fertilizers are concerned? And on the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, the Ann Yojana, do you believe that are we getting anywhere closer to it being wound down, or do you believe that it is warranted to continue?
See, on the fertilizer front, India has already managed its supply of fertilizer for Kharif, and also it is in the process of securing a full requirement for the Rabi season. So country in that way has been very proactive because of the government intervention at various levels, and India is in comfortable position to meet its fertilizer requirement. This is what Secretary Fertilizer has stated, and Minister Agriculture has stated in various conversations. As far as Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Yojana is concerned, at the moment it is still the month of September, and government will take a suitable decision as and when that period comes to close. So as of now it continues till September 2022.
Yes, we still have about 2 months to go, and perhaps a review will be taken ahead of that deadline. But Sudhanshu Pandey, Food Secretary, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18 on a whole host of issues. So the big story there, no additional intervention at this point in time required is what the government feels as far as further export curbs, etc. are concerned, especially on crucial items like rice. Time for us to head into a short break, but coming up next, the Supreme Court sentences fugitive businessman Vijay Mallya to 4 months in prison. That and more when we return.